And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Diablo Immortal is back with the next round of testing, and today I'm telling you everything you need to know about beta. Let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain Nemo. Welcome to another Diablo Immortal video. It's good to be back. That's right, Diablo Immortal is back. Beta is here. We've been waiting for so long. And finally, today, I can give you all of the information, everything you need to know about this round of testing of Diablo Immortal. I'm super excited, so let's get started. Oh, and just before we get started, this round of testing in Diablo Immortal has a lot of stuff going on. There's so many changes, tweaks, new systems, a lot of stuff going on in beta, and we're not going to be able to cover it all in one video. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned, because tomorrow I'm going to go into a lot more details of what we talked about today, and in the following days I'm going to break down all of these systems with a fine-tooth comb. But today I'm going to talk high level, all the stuff that you really want to know right now. So make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. So what's going on? And what's going on is Immortal is back with the next round of testing called Closed Beta. Now in this round, we're going to see finally the end game of Diablo Immortal. We're going to check out the Necromancer class. We'll see the final stage. We'll see the final end game systems and mechanics. All of the things that encompass this game are finally going to be open and released to us in this closed beta. We're going to really be able to sort of take a bite out of Immortal and see it as a whole. And before I go into the changes and the systems and the Necromancer and all the cool stuff we'll see, let's first address the closed part of beta, because that's important. That's going to probably affect whether you can play or not. The first question I'm sure you're asking is, can you play Diablo Immortal right now? Well, unfortunately, it means that you're not going to be able to participate unless you're in the Canadian region. The closed beta is only slotted to be tested in Canada. So if you're in the Canadian region and you've pre-registered for Diablo Immortal prior to this, you're going to be able to participate in closed beta. Although there is one more restriction, and that is that they're only going to be running this particular test, the closed beta, just the closed beta, on the Android devices. So anybody who is on Apple are not going to be able to participate. I'll give you just some of the reasons as to why I think that's happening a little bit later in the video. But at the end of the day, if you're in Canada and if you're on an Android device that's supported, you will be able to play Diablo Immortal closed beta. Unfortunately, if you're not going to be able to play. So anybody in the US is not going to be able to participate in this closed beta test. There are some, I think I heard something like about maybe some small sections of Australia being able to participate in test as well, but that's it. So unless you're in Canada or maybe in those little sections, you are not going to be able to participate in the closed beta of Diablo Immortal. Unfortunately, that is some bad news for a lot of the folks in the US. Now, at the same time, there's also good news, because it's one step closer to release, which they say it is coming in 2022, the first half of 2022. So if you really think about it, the last test was about 2 months. From what I understand, this test is going to be right around the same time. And there's a lot of things that are going to be happening. The content creators, so myself, Echo, and a whole bunch of other folks, are going to be in that Canadian server. So we're actually going to be playing with whoever's playing on Canada. I also found out that the VPNs are not going to work. So if you're thinking that you're going to be able to VPN in there, unfortunately, that's not going to work either. You need to be pre-registered prior to this in Canada at the Google Play Store if you want to play. I'm going to list the phones that are supported for this round of testing in the description of this video. If you wanted to check it out for yourself, there's a list of phones that will of course get expanded as they get closer to release, which is scheduled for the first half of 2022. They doubled down on that and stated once again that the game is coming out in the first half of 2022. So that should pretty much answer your first question of whether you can play Diablo Immortal and participate in this closed beta test. All of the information down below. So next, let's talk about what are the important things that are coming in closed beta. What are the things that you need to know about? Well, there are a lot. There are so many changes that are coming in closed beta. It's actually really exciting. I'm going to go through and give you the high-level overview of what's to come. First, of course, Necromancer. We get to see the Necromancer, the final class, the final zone, because that's where the Necro lives, and we'll get to finally see the holistic look at Diablo Immortal, the high-level overview of the entire scope of what's going on, every end game system, all of the vendors, every different cycle of strife step, and etc. and etc. We really get to see what Diablo Immortal is all about. I feel like a lot of the other tests that we did, really we were very limited because we weren't able to get to the max level, we weren't able to get 3 or 4 stat gear, we weren't able to see the end game progression systems because we never got to 60. There were a lot of things that just like were weird because we weren't able to get to that max level. Well, right here is where we get the full look into Diablo Immortal. I am so excited for that. Finally, we get to see what's going on. I feel like one of the characters in Lost when they actually finally opened the vault. Do you remember that? Anyway, so what else is happening in Immortal? Next, let's jump into the cycle of strife. That's an area that I've complained about a lot. I've complained about it because it was confusing to me. It never made any sense how one becomes the immortal, on who becomes the top dark house. That entire system was just odd and weird to me. I finally understand why. There are 2 more steps to the cycle of strife that we did not get to see in the previous testing. 2 more steps that sort of make it a lot clearer as to who becomes the top dark house. And the immortal, I actually really like it. It's pretty cool. One of the steps happens right after the Rite of Exile, where there's a bunch of shadows that get to fight one immortal, the giant immortal, who kind of becomes like a raid boss versus the 30 shadows that smack at his ankles. It looks like a really cool setup. And then after that, there's a final battle, which kind of decides who becomes the immortal. I'll go into more details about that in tomorrow's video when we deep dive into the cycle of strife. But it makes a lot more sense now. We actually get to see the high level view of what's going on in the cycle and how it determines who becomes the immortal and all that good stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. Another good change is the Reliquary. It is no longer something that you can attempt by yourself. This is going to be an 8-player raid activity, which is kind of cool. It makes a lot more sense for it to be like an 8-player raid thing. Those bosses are really difficult, and a lot of the times you're going to need someone to carry you. So this makes sense. I really like this. Reliquaries are now an 8-player raid system. And speaking about a new system, there's another one called the Legacy of the Haradrim. That's right, another new system in Diablo Immortal where you're going to be able to progress your character even further when you get to the end game. I'll go into more detail about it tomorrow when we deep dive, into this. But at the end of the day, Legacy of the Haradrim is kind of like the Reliquary, but with like these daily Haradrim dungeons. You're able to complete the dungeons, collect certain things that you can slot into specific slots, and then those will give you a boost, just like the Reliquary would when you beat the boss and you bring back that artifact and slot it into the Reliquary. This is kind of like the same thing, but for your own personal character in this thing called the Legacy of the Haradrim. More details about it in tomorrow's video. And you think I'm done? Not even halfway. I hope you have your popcorn ready because we have set items now coming to Diablo Immortal. That's right, set items, just like in the previous Diablo games. Basically, a set item is an item that allows you to gain a bonus when you wear multiples of it. So there are specific set items that will allow you or grant you bonuses when you wear 3 of them or all 6 of them. And all of these set items go into your secondary gear slots. So your primary gear slots are still going to have your legendary pieces in them, but your secondary gear slots now have these set items. When you find these set items, they're going to grant you bonuses. When you wear 3, they'll get you a special bonus, and then if you wear all 6, they'll get you another bonus. So the combination here would be, do you want to wear 6 of the same set to get all of the bonuses, or do you want to wear 2 different sets, 3 of each, to get 2 separate bonuses from each set? If you know what I mean, that's going to give you a whole bunch more flexibility when it comes to builds and etc. This really amplifies the amount of stuff that you can do with your character. Again, we'll go into more detail about it in tomorrow's video, but at the end of the day, just remember there are sets coming to Diablo Immortal. You put them in secondary gear slots, and you can get bonuses from them if you wear 3 pieces of the same set, or if you wear 6 pieces of the same set. That's really cool. And the gear itself actually is getting a new system as well. It's called Awakening. You can take your max gear and get it past the level of max by awakening it. That gives it a small boost in specific stats. And what it does majorly, the reason that you sort of want to awake your gear is it changes the way that that gear looks. If you watched in the trailer that they just dropped, there's a barbarian and he has like his helmet is all on fire, right? Or there has a bunch of other special effects. That's all done with the awakening system. There's a lot of details in that I will mention in tomorrow's video, but at the end of the day, just remember, there's a way for you to progress your gear past max level, get a couple of more stats on it, and majorly change the way that gear looks on you, like set it on fire. Next, let's talk about Gem Resonance, another new system for legendary gems in Diablo Immortal. It'll allow you to upgrade your legendary gems past max levels and get a really cool bonuses on them. I'll go into more details about it in tomorrow's video. The battleground system now has a ladder, which is really cool. So there will be matchmaking that's happening within the battlegrounds themselves. I had a big issue with this. There was no matchmaking. There was nothing going on. But now, apparently not just server-wide, but worldwide maybe, there's going to be matchmaking, PvP matchmaking in the battleground ladder. That's really cool. Controller support. There are going to be supporting a limited number of controllers for beta. There's a list in the description of this video, so you can check it out for yourself. But the Xbox, the PS5, and the Razer controllers are all supported. That list will be expanded when they get closer to release. So next, let's talk World Paragon system. Is a new way to allow players, new players, to catch up to older players. A World Paragon system is a server paragon level. And basically what it does is it grants anyone below that level bonuses. It literally doubles everything you do, XP, loot, gold. It doubles it if you're below that server paragon level. So anybody who's new and just starting and they get into a server that's been around for a long time with a whole bunch of players who are like really high up, well, this is a way for them to catch up. They get double of everything until they get to the average, whatever the average of that server is. And that is the world paragon level of that server. It's a really cool system. I really like it. It allows new players to catch up a little bit faster. Again, doubles everything that you do if you're below that paragon level. There's a new difficulty. That's right. Hell 4 difficulty is being introduced for really high paragon levels. That's going to be a thing. And on top of that, there are some stat changes that are coming to a lot of different things, like the importance of offensive, defensive ratings, and things like that. Again, we'll go into more details about it tomorrow, but there are some statistics changes that are coming to the game, and of course, the Hell 4 difficulty as well. And last, but certainly not least, is the in-game store. That's right, in this version of the testing, we're actually able to see what things are gonna cost. The full monetization model is available to us, and we're gonna be able to spend our money in the game if we want. Now, the money that we do spend in the beta will be refunded to us in a form of tokens that we're going to be able to use back on the game when it comes out. So long story short, Diablo Immortal Beta will be wiped when the test is over. Now, if you spend money in the game, the money that you spend in the game will be returned to your Battle.net account via a token that you'll be able to use on Diablo Immortal only when the game releases back up. So you're able to buy whatever you buy in the game now, gets refunded, and you can buy it again when the game finally comes out for real. Now, what can you actually buy? Well, pretty much everything. It looks like the whole store is open, right? There's eternal orbs that you can buy. You can buy the battle pass. You can buy the crests, the legendary crests. You can also get the materials like the reforged stones and the dawning echoes. And of course, you can get these new bundles. It gives you a little bit of a, I suppose, a discount on the pricing. So we'll see how that works. We'll talk about it more, of course, in tomorrow's video. But the store is wide open and is ready to go. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why maybe Canada is getting it. And that's maybe another reason why Apple devices are not getting this round of testing. From what I understand, there's two things here. This is kind of like the last part. Remember I told you, I'll explain to you why I feel like it's not going to be available in the US, why it's only in Canada, and why is it only on Android devices versus Apple. Let's talk about that. Now remember, what I'm telling you now is my own opinion. It's not a fact, so take that with a grain of salt. The reason that I believe you can't play on Apple devices in this round of testing is because Apple is very difficult to test on in general. Their store is super restrictive when it comes to beta apps. And if there's any kind of charging, I believe there's no way to refund in the Apple store. Something like that, which doesn't allow them to do any kind of testing in this round. So it's Apple's own restrictions that unfortunately just take the iPhone out of the picture when it comes to the closed beta. And the region, that's a whole different story. I Googled this around. I asked a whole bunch of developer friends, and what they told me, again, this might not be a fact, so take it with a grain of salt, but what they said to me is that for some reason, Canada and Australia are like the best regions to test monetization in. I'm not really sure why. Again, I gotta look into it, do a little bit more research, but that's what they say, that Canada and Australia are the most favorable regions to test your monetization in. In fact, if I thought back, there are a lot of other mobile games that have their betas and all do their testing in Canada and Australia. Now, it may be because Canada and Australia isn't like perfect world regions. Maybe it's because they're small and there won't be a lot of traffic going on. There could be many other reasons. But from what people are saying, from what the internet is saying, is because it's the easiest to test your monetization schemes in. So those are my two answers to probably the most heated questions as to why can't Apple play, and of course, why can't we play here in the US? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the high-level overview of closed beta for Diablo Immortal. Let me know what you think down below. I would love to hear it. Tomorrow, I'm going to go into a deep dive and give you a lot more information. Thanks so much for watching. See you then.